Well, the tropical waves on your screen right there, the one on the left especially, has the potential to become Tropical Storm Brett by the time we go towards the early to midweek time frame. Let's go ahead and talk about that in this One Nation weather forecast for America. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's go ahead and hop right into the Saturday evening infrared imagery for us here. You can definitely see that low pressure structure, while the other has stronger thunderstorms in the left side one for us there, the one further west moving through the Atlantic. You can see that one definitely has at least some of the structure to it that looks like a low pressure system, but it is definitely not organized quite yet. The organization is expected to occur through the rest of the weekend and into the early next week time frame, and I think we could very well have Brett by Monday, Tuesday. So let's go ahead and talk about what we know right now. There's a 70% chance of development from the National Hurricane Center, moving westward around 15 miles per hour. That's the movement of the system. Notice how it is anticipated right now to curl up to the north and west, but we do have some indications that this could stay in the Caribbean, so stay tuned. Chance of development is very high out of this. Even though it's 70%, I'd say the chance is closer to 90% with what the models are showing us right now. Now, in terms of timing and intensity, the low pressure looks to be following the same path with both the GFS and the European model through at least Wednesday, I think, for us here. So you can see gradual dropping in the pressure, which means strengthening of the winds, strengthening of the storm in general. So as we go towards Monday, we may very well start to see a tropical storm or at least depression get formed by that time. Notice this looks to strengthen up even maybe a little bit more by the time we go to Tuesday, before kind of leveling out as we go into our Wednesday. Notice it is making its approach to the Caribbean islands, maybe places like Barbados, Anguilla, places like that need to watch out for this by the time we're going to Wednesday, definitely keeping a close eye off to the east at that point. But the GFS model doesn't think that it will be much of a concern for them. Yes, maybe some showers, but in general the rainfall looks to turn north and then eventually curve off towards the east as kind of a front pushes it away, which would be the best scenario for most people on land, because even Bermuda would look to be dodged based on the GFS track. But if you look at what the GFS does, you can see how it strengthens it into a hurricane, whereas the European kind of keeps us as a tropical storm further south as we go into our Thursday. So at the same time the GFS, let's run that back, you could see Thursday around the same time, around the same intensity in the same area with the European and the GFS, but then the European splits this off and moves it further westward into portions of the Caribbean. You can see that making its way past the Caribbean islands. We could see impacts in places like Puerto Rico, Haiti, Dominican Republic, but notice how it looks to be a 1,009 millibar low. That is not a very strong low, so hopefully this would just be some rainfall and nothing really too tropical out of this. Now here's the rainfall expectations from the European model during that time. Most of this comes out of the system. You can see some of those purple areas would be where we pick up 2 to 4 inches, but we've picked up feet of rain in these areas in previous tropical systems, so I think in general this could be handled in those Caribbean islands, especially with a lack of winds in general. Notice the GFS model pumps a more intense storm but keeps it out to sea with those heavy rain totals getting anywhere from 8 to 12 inches, but again over the open waters in general for us here. So let's recap those headlines. A very high chance for tropical development remains with that eastern Atlantic storm as it progresses westward across the Atlantic. Tropical Storm Brett should develop by Tuesday afternoon, in my opinion, but the GFS and European models do agree through midweek in that location and intensity. But the impacts possible either to Bermuda or Caribbean islands, excuse me, there should be an N there instead of the B. That really depends on which model you go with. Impacts remain very unlikely for mainland America, though, but Puerto Rico, of course, part of America for us there. We need to keep a very close eye on that because that is part of the USA, and we definitely need to watch out for some of the precipitation there. So we'll keep an eye on that. Thank you so much for joining me. Here are the credits.